Hello.
Howdy.
So I am Todd Coleman, creative director of Crowfall.
And I'm Thomas Blair, lead designer of Crowfall.
And we're back for another fantastic, exciting episode of the ACE Q&A, Art, Craft, Entertainment, Questions and Answers, where we take your questions and we answer them. That's pretty much
Yeah, and we're running out of
obvious.
room on this card. I think I got 2 or 3 more months maybe, and then we're going to need a new card.
Yeah, so this is collecting questions from January and answering them here at the beginning of February.
Yep.
So without further ado, give us the question.
All right, question number 1. Hey Ace, howdy. Just wanted to do a current checkup on the progress of the tests. I assume that the snap tests are to tune up combat, but what specifics regarding combat need to be improved before 2.0?
Well, we're going to keep improving a lot, actually. But so okay,
It
so
never stops. But
Let's go back to what we did in December. So for those of you just tuning in, so back in December we decided that combat just wasn't as responsive as we needed it to be. So we decided to delay the destruction milestone by 1 month, pushing it from February into March, so we could go back and just worry about the responsiveness. We finished that, and finished, I should put in quotes. We did a lot of work there, and I think that the result was easily worth the amount of effort.
oh, it's very playing any of the snap tests. Movement is night and day different.
Yeah,
from what it was.
movement is far, far better. What we didn't get to yet is all the powers. So powers still are not as responsive just because we haven't gotten to it yet. So that'll be the next major thing for us to kind of overhaul and jump into. And there's a host of other things we still need to deal with, like fallout damage from this that hit on the animators where they have to go back and change animations.
Not fall damage, but fallout.
Fallout damage from that change. So it was absolutely the right thing for us to do, but there's going to be ripple effects we'll be feeling for the next few months.
Yeah.
In the end, though, the game will be much stronger for it, so I'm glad we did it.
And fall damage is very high now.
Yeah, yes,
Don't fall off the top of the keep under half health. Before we were kind of capping it at your percent of current health. Now it's percent of max health. So if you take a big fall, you are going to die.
One more note about testing real quick is we mentioned, and we talk a lot about this combat revision that we did just now. In the background, what you guys haven't seen is that most of the team is continuing to move forward on Siege Perilous, which is our destruction milestone, where we want to blow up castle walls and towers. So the siege mechanics are coming along, and we should have something to talk about and show for that very, very soon. So stay tuned for that.
All right. Next question. What happens at the end of the world?
That's, I don't think time-wise end of the world, but the actual physical, if I run up to the edge.
However you want to interpret that.
No, I think it's the edge of a parcel.
Okay.
Like if I have a bunch of parcels placed together and I run up to the edge, what's there? So we played around with a couple options here, right? Everything from it'll be a big cliff that you just fall off to put some kind of dome. The honest answer and the easiest answer is oceans look the best. Like oceans
They certainly do.
Work really, really well. They are performant, meaning that they don't, putting a bunch of mountains there or something like that is aggravating because it chews up polys, and also you can't run there, which looks kind of dumb.
Right.
So we went with oceans. That's where we are currently. It also does open up the opportunity, though it would be well after launch, for us to revisit ships and naval combat later, which would be awesome.
You had to bring that up.
Well, yeah, it would be really, really cool. We're not promising it now. We're not doing. Nobody's working on it or thinking about it now, but it does open that opportunity up.
Okay, so we had a lengthy question about eternal kingdoms and vassals, and I'm going to summarize it. Are vassals worth anything?
Yeah, so the short answer is it is a social system primarily. So that's kind of like asking, is a grouping system worth anything?
Right.
And the answer is, well, yes, but primarily it's going to be social things that it actually results in. It makes it easier for you to manage your social connections. There are opportunities that we could potentially add other stuff to it, taxing being like the obvious one.
Right.
But to build the system initially, I want to start with just the hierarchy of social connections. Let's bite that off and then see where that takes us. And then from there, we'll tie it into the EK, we'll tie it into the guilds, we'll tie it into everything else and see where it blossoms.
Great. Since you mentioned EK, let's just talk about the EK world building tools.
Okay,
Because that's where we're at.
Yeah, absolutely. The first thing to point out is they're not just EK world building tools. They're world building tools. So we've spent a lot of time lately behind the scenes working on our pipeline for building worlds. We get this question all the time, which is, you guys are going to have dozens, hundreds, who knows how many unique worlds. How are you going to possibly build that much content in between now and launch? And the answer is we're not. We're going to build a world factory, basically a pipeline that allows worlds to be very, very quickly and easily made out of constituent parts. So effectively, we're building and designing Lego kits that you can use to build worlds. Our Lego kits basically work on two levels. We've got the macro level, which is land parcels like mountains and valleys and rivers and forests that you can slap together worlds, or we can procedurally generate the same thing using the same pieces. And then at the micro level as well, we're going to do the same thing with castle parts now, where you can build castle walls and towers and stuff like that. So so we actually have made tremendous progress on that lately. Just recently I was able to see John. I went through the whole pipeline of watching John drop a bunch of mountain parcels. We went over and Billy used his tool to configure those into a world map, which was really cool. Walked over to Vlad's machine. We were able to see those checked in, and Vlad actually logged in. I was able to run around with a knight in the world made of parcels by John through Billy's tool. So we saw the whole, it's a very rickety bridge at this point, but we saw the whole pipeline from start to finish.
It's sorcery.
Which really is really, really cool. So so I guess the quick and dirty answer on that is we don't have anything to show you yet, but we are making great progress on it behind the scenes, and we will have something to show you soon.
Great.
There you go.
All right. Okay, so you guys talk about skills often. What do skills mean to you?
That is an excellent and fairly confusing question. Or rather, the answer is fairly confusing because the way we look at the game is at a very abstract kind of high level. It's a model that you probably haven't thought about before in terms of the MMO design architecture, but so it basically has to do with currencies and effort, right?
Okay.
Do you want to try and give the rundown of what a currency is?
A currency is anything that you do or use.
Pretty much.
Anything.
Yeah.
Just if you think about it at the 20,000 foot view, it is anything. You can convert hit points into currency.
Right. So everything.
Mana is a currency.
Everything that has a fluctuating level numerically is effectively a currency. So you guys are used to gold being a currency.
Because that's easy, right?
And credits being a currency. But technically, real world time is a currency. In fact, it's the only real currency. It's the input from which everything else flows. From there, you've got health, which has regen and mana and rage and decay on items and skills.
Yep.
And, I mean, practically everything. A pile of ore, that's another currency. So everything is a currency. And in the game, you have actions that you can do that are effectively currency transfers. So I can use a power, which is an action, which converts rage into damage. And that damage is a conversion through my weapon, which causes some weapon decay and causes a depletion of your health, which is another currency. So effectively, if you think about it from the highest level, the game is about my ability to transfer, to accumulate and transfer currencies more efficiently than you.
Basically.
Right? So skill then is learning a system well enough that you are better at more efficiently and effectively doing those currency manipulations than other players.
And those currency manipulations are usually bundled up with effort.
Yeah. There's some amount of effort and some amount of skill, and that could be Twitch-based skill.
But I think the act of converting them is what is actually defined as effort.
Right, and you've got manipulators on it. Like, I happen to know that if I put this particular debuff on you, now this type of currency transfer, which is poison damage, is going to be more effective. So that's a transfer mechanic. So effectively, when we think about skill, we think about it in terms of mastering a particular area of the game so that you are really, really, really good at doing particular types of transfers. I'm really good at turning ore into a Grandmaster Longsword. That's my area of expertise. So what we try to do is we also try to make it to where the most effective and efficient transfers require the most amount of effort or the smartest amount of effort, right? The most efficient amount of effort. What we don't want is we don't want it to where I can get the best transfer out of a simple, repeatable task that anyone could do. And we want to balance risk and reward, right?
Yeah. And what I think is amusing was there was a comment on the forums about how passively training skills required no effort, but since it deals directly with time, it's actually the pure definition of effort.
It is. Is it high skill? Well, the actual act of clicking on it is, of course, no skill.
No.
A monkey could do that. Figuring out, not even a smart monkey, just kind of any random monkey.
My kittens can do that because they paw on things, on buttons on the iPad.
Yeah, I'm talking about monkeys. Don't distract me. So, okay, but anyway, but knowing which branches to take and what the diminishing returns curve is, so I need to take this to this point, at which point I'm going to jump over here to this, and knowing that those skill branching skill trees are not created equal. Like, there's no intention on our part to make everything perfectly balanced. The skill trees are set up to where some players will make better choices than other players.
Right, absolutely.
So that's part of skill, figuring out those trees, doing trial and effort, and actually talking to other people and learning. That's all part of skill as well. So when we use the term skill, yes, it is a tough to define term. I absolutely will grant you that.
Yep.
Because there are so many different sub-skills that are kind of encapsulated within that one concept. But to me, it's really about mastering and knowing how to make those, either in real time or even offline, in a way that you can compare yourself to other players trying to do the similar things and receive a better, more efficient, or more effective outcome.
Seems reasonable.
There you go.
Yeah.
Is that it?
It's very 30,000-foot view. But
It is. But it is also helpful every now and then to tell you guys kind of how we think about these.
Yeah.
In fact, I've got a series of design architecture charts that are basically just it looks like a electrical diagram, right?
Yeah.
Or a spider web, where it's all these interconnected lines between all these floating currencies, and it'll show you how this particular action, that being harvesting in the game, allows you to take time plus item decay plus some amount of invested skill equals some degree of this new material that I've harvested out of the earth or whatever. So anyway, that's the way.
Yeah,
we
normally you
think about
don't get to
these
see
things.
that stuff, so it's kind of cool to see how we think sometimes.
Right.
And because it's not really as fun and exciting as you may think.
Yeah.
But it actually works.
Yeah, it works, and it's interesting. So thanks for the question. Great question. And didn't answer that one on the forums, actually, because I thought, it'd probably be easier to explain that on video. So I'm glad we were able to bring
And I
that
hope
one
you
up
understood
here.
it.
Cool. All right, so is that it for
That's
this time?
Yeah, that's all we got for
All
this
right, well,
one.
thank you very much, guys, as always, for your ongoing support and for your questions. Keep the questions coming. We love to give you a glimpse behind the curtain and show you what's going on here at Artcraft.
And I hope you're enjoying the snap tests that are going on right now. It definitely feels a lot different than the Hunger Dome 1.0 and 1.0.
It does, and Siege Perilous coming right around the corner is going to feel way different.
Oh, yeah. Can't wait to see you there.
So, all right, thanks, guys. See you in game.